I don't collect Funko reaction figures, but I did get the Rocketeer figure because at the time it seemed like the closest we were ever going to get to a legit Rocketeer action figure. But this figure can go fudge itself, because shortly thereafter, Funko announced they were going to do the Funko Legacy Collection action figure, which to me looks awesome, so I am dying to get my hands on this, so let's review it. If you're hunting for this in stores, be on the lookout for his gun accessory. Over half of the ones I saw in stores had the gun attached to his right hand, but the other half, it was missing. And you'd see it like kind of floundering around the bottom, like mine was, you know, kind of pegged underneath his foot. Some it was behind the plastic bubble, and it was like in between the plastic and the card. So just be on the lookout for that and make sure it's in there when you buy this. And if you're ordering this online or something, don't worry if you don't see it attached to his hand. Just check around inside the box, give it a shake, you'll see it flopping around in there. Also, if I'm going to be nitpicky, the other thing to be on the lookout for is his eyes. They're painted, like the eyeballs themselves are painted a little further apart, kind of gives him a derpy look. I saw some that were kind of painted a little bit better, where his eyes are a little closer together, but there are other elements that didn't really look as good on the figure. So ultimately I did pick this one, but overall it's a pretty good like head sculpt and paint, I gotta say. I don't expect super amazing likenesses when it comes to this kind of scale, but you know, it actually looks like, you know, Cliff Secord, like they did a good job with his hairstyle. I think the eyebrows, the mouth looks really good, like his nose. But man, they did a great job sculpting that hairstyle. It totally looks like him. You know, even from the back, I think the way they sculpted the hair is very impressive to me. And the fact that they kind of used a lighter brown with some sort of dark kind of washes over it. It's a really good use of paint to highlight what a good hair sculpt that is, because he did have quite a unique kind of hairstyle in that film. But the mouth lines, it looks really good. The sculpt on this figure overall is really strong. I think like the way they sculpted like the fabric there, it really does read well as far as like the little pinch points by the buttons, the folding around the neck, along the sleeves, and the wrinkle on his pants. Like, it's really strong work, I think. Also, the little kind of darker wash they put over the pants kind of dirty it up a bit, which is great because, you know, I like the fact that they can make these fabrics look worn and lived in and dirty and not so clean. Boot work is really good too. The wrinkling at the bottom of the boots is good. Now the articulation is really good. You've got the hinge there and the little swivel. Although this one's a little tight and I have to use a blow dryer on that. There is no boot cut, but there is a cut at the top of the thigh and double knee joint, which works out really well. The hinge at the waist is good. Also there's a mid-torso cut, well, a lower torso cut. So that works out good. Range at the shoulders is pretty solid. It goes up a little bit further than I was expecting, so that's cool. Shoulder joint's great, and you've got the swivel at the wrist, but you've also got the hinge that goes side to side on both hands. And then lastly, you've got his head, which does pop off after a little bit of twisting, so you can put on the Rocketeer helmet head. Now that I got the helmet on the figure, I gotta say, the helmet looks really, really good. It's a good size, like the dimensions of it are great. It's not too big or too small for the rest of the figure. And I think they did a great job sculpting all the lines on it. The design of it's just perfect. And even like the rivets and the little black paint around the mouth, the black paint on the eye stays within the lines. I think they just totally nailed this helmet. And another good thing about it is you've got a bit of a joint at the bottom of the neck, and then there's the ball joint inside the helmet, so you do get like a pretty cool range of motion. You can't get it all the way up for flight, but you do get a good tilt out of it. Also, what looks really cool in this figure is the jetpack itself. I think, man, this jetpack looks just great. I like the fact that they included the bubblegum and painted it pink, so there's a sculpt and a paint for that little tiny detail of the bubblegum on the back. The little thrusters look good. Let's see if I can go in for a closer look. I don't know how close I can get on this, but there you go. The little vents that go around the base of it, the little gold paint there, the little tiny little rivets that go around those sections there, the fan, the gold on top. Look, the jetpack looks just awesome. They did not disappoint in that department as far as like the detail on it goes. So I'm really happy about that. It is weird though, because the packaging that Funko debuted for this many months back showed the jetpack as a separate piece, but this seems very well attached on there. Also, his front jacket flap was supposed to be removable, and you would see the straps underneath. It does kind of lift up a bit at the bottom there, but it appears glued at the top, so not only am I not going to take this off, but I'm surprised they kind of changed their ways, because I was expecting to be able to take that off and put it back on based on initial photographs. But I do want to point out that this joint here, you know, has a little bit of exposure there, you know, Funko's reaction line started off pretty weak with their Game of Thrones figures, Series 1, and had a lot of problems like that. So I'm curious how this will last, you know, over time as far as like joints and joint breakage goes. Because it seems pretty sturdy, but this already has me worried. Another thing about joints is I wish his head could cock back further. I know the limitation of the ball joint means that you can't, but I'd love to put him in a flying pose, and you know, the angle goes back. You know, you get his arms to the side. Maybe kind of bend his legs a bit. You could get him in a flying pose, but then the head just doesn't cooperate enough. One of the things I like about the detachable helmet head is it doesn't have the neck peg sticking out of the bottom, so you can't have him hold the helmet like an accessory. I'm a huge fan of The Rocketeer. It's one of my favorite films, it's one of my favorite scores, I think it's James Horner's best score, so I was really looking forward to this figure, and I gotta say for the most part it did not disappoint. The Billy Campbell head sculpt is decent, but not amazing, but that helmet looks really, really good. I'm happy that the gun fits into his hand really easily. You can get him into some pretty good poses. My main disappointment is the fact that his head doesn't go all the way back for when he's flying, because this character is a flying character. I really would not have minded if they had made a joint back here at the base of the neck. That way you don't have to mess with the head to get the head to go back. You just have a joint at the bottom of the neck that just pivots back a bit. I mean, you wouldn't really have to deal with it that much because from the front you wouldn't really notice the line, but the neck would cock back and then the head would cock back a little further and it would line up well. You know what? I don't normally encourage double dips, but if Funko were to make a second version called the flying version with a neck joint and fists for hands, because it would be cool if he also had alternate fist hands for flying, I would probably buy it. They would get my money again. That's how bad I want a Rocketeer figure that looks like he's actually flying. Despite that, I dig this figure a lot. Like a lot. Thanks for watching.